A fanged beast, fanged wyvern, elder dragons galore, harken back to folk tales from days of yore, devouring prey, forcing hunters to cart, at the ruins of a citadel, crumbling apart. They're certainly monsters in that sense of the word, but they're also the kind you and I may have heard in film, in print, in Halloween's past. Yes, creatures of stories, their history vast. Let's examine these fiends, though they may give you a scare. These most fearsome of beasts, let's explore if you dare. Monster Hunter Rise's Sunbreak expansion introduces monsters that are new to the series, which interestingly take inspiration from classic movie monsters, like Count Chocula and Frankenberry. Wait, no, isn't it Frankenberry's monster? Frankenberry's the doctor who created the monster. There we go. Food mascots aside, let's discuss Monster Hunter Rise's 3 lords and big bad final boss, and the ways that they reference the classic spooky monsters that we associate with Halloween. And let's make those cookies, actually. Spoiler warning, we will be discussing late game story moments and the final boss of the Sunbreak expansion. The concept for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak is monsters from Western folklore, contrasting with the base game's distinct Eastern feel that was represented through the Japanese-style village, music, and other design elements. Art director Yoshitaka Ohuchi says they added elements of horror, including creating an eerie atmosphere for the new locale in the game, the Citadel, by making the sky crimson red at night. And if you saw my Blood Moon video last year, I'm sure you can imagine that I thought this atmosphere was really cool. The Western folklore influence obviously extends to the new monsters known as the 3 lords, Garangolm, Lunagaron, and Malzeno. Ohuchi says we wanted to make the Western style monsters convincing as actual living creatures, complete with an interesting ecology, a proper relationship with the world they live in, and the hunters who face them. Definitely living up to the attention to detail that is so central to the Monster Hunter games and their lifelike creatures. So let's get started with Garangolm. Garangolm is described as a wandering colossus and bears clear resemblance to a gorilla-like creature but with hard external armor and the unique ability to grow plants upon its body. The very square-looking head shape and greenish color palette definitely evokes the appearance of Frankenstein's monster. This official illustration certainly embraces this connection. I love that the green color comes from plants. It's a different take on the monster that still kind of gives off the idea of creating life from the non-living. At least it does for me, with these plants emerging from a hard, stone-looking surface. The monster's cortex is described as a sturdy yet creepy shell with lots of crooked parts. And we definitely think of Frankenstein's monster as having those sort of crooked, creepy body parts as well. Things that just don't quite sit right since they were artificially bolted or stitched together. In addition to growing plant life, the fanged beast also harnesses molten lava on its left arm and moss and water on its right arm, really making the monster feel like an unnatural hodgepodge of various types of creatures, similar to Frankenstein's monster being an unnatural hodgepodge of different body parts, connected in ways that unnaturally contrast with one another. The monster's Golm thick juice item drop is described as causing quick growing moss and explosions, definitely giving off that sort of mad science experiment type of vibe. Garangolm is portrayed as a peaceful creature that seems innocent and docile, but when disturbed is very dangerous, similar to how Frankenstein's monster is portrayed in the book as having the best of intentions at first, but is both highly feared and very dangerous and ends up causing a lot of harm to others. If it's disturbed from its peaceful desires, pure anger becomes pure strength. This absolutely describes Frankenstein's monster in the original book. I think the fact that it grows plants and promotes new growth in the soil also evokes that gentle nature. And the descriptions of the armor as protecting afforestation and tilling the soil, again that theme of creating life but also this sort of gentleness to the earth. Garangolm also bears resemblance to the Jewish golem, which actually predates Frankenstein. Another being created by bringing bring inanimate matter to life, specifically in the form of clay or earth. Garangolm's rock-like appearance and the more brownish color, along with that connection to the earth, really evokes the idea of a golem. Many monsters take inspiration from multiple sources, just one of the things that makes them so unique and interesting. Next, we meet Lunagaron. Described as the Moonlight Nocturne, this monster resembles a wolf, but with a reference in the intro to it showing its true form with unbridled power once the moon reveals itself. We've got a clear reference to the werewolf. In its true form, Lunagaron lets out a great howl and stands on two legs, reminding me of the Pokemon Lycanroc, which probably also takes some cues from the werewolf mythology. It also gains these more hand-like claws on its front legs that can slice and dice unsuspecting hunters, and his icicle spikes give it that iconic hunched back that we associate with a werewolf, and it can be seen sort of twitching like it's out of control. It's also described as spiking its body temperature and expanding its muscles, mimicking the sudden change and wild power that comes with the transformation from a human into a werewolf. The monster also hits a lot harder when it's in this form, so beware. Weapons forged using Lunagaron parts are chained up when they're sheathed. This may reference Fenrir, or the Fenris wolf, a monstrous wolf in Norse mythology who was bound with a magical chain by the gods due to his terrifying strength, only to break free during Ragnarok and devour everything in its path. Now, Malzeno, the flagship monster of Sunbreak, really steals the show in this expansion, in my opinion. It's a crimson-colored elder dragon inspired by vampires. The designers incorporated elements of aristocracy, nobility, grandeur, and cunningness in the design, reflecting the Gothic or Victorian setting usually associated with vampires, and particularly Dracula. And the monster's musical theme definitely evokes these same qualities. Malzeno's wings will fold around its body like the iconic cape of a vampire, and it has neck frills that look like those sorta, fancy man neck things that the vampire guys have. As the description in our hunter's notes says, it appears almost regal to start with, but after draining enough energy, it can turn a violent, fresh blood crimson. Malzeno's most vampire-like attribute is its ability to command the Qurio. They're like these little red flying leeches that can suck out an enemy's life energy, often by the neck. They also resemble bats, which are an iconic part of vampire lore, whether it's as familiars or servants, or the vampire transforming into a bat himself. My cat's new ability in Sunbreak is also bat-themed, the healing clover bat. Probably unrelated, but I think it's pretty neat. Malzeno and its Qurio also steal your hunter's life energy, inflicting a status ailment called Blood Blight. Once it's drained enough energy, Malzeno takes on a whole new appearance, glowing and blood red, powered by all the stolen energy and absorbed blood, and this form is known as the Bloodening. Malzeno even has the ability to almost teleport, or move so quickly that it seems like teleporting, another power we sometimes see in vampire media. Something I thought was really creepy is when you break this monster's head, the head becomes this scary skull face, which sort of reminds me of how a vampire often has this polished, sophisticated, beautiful appearance, but what's underneath the mask can be quite horrifying. The armor includes a helm described as headwear of one who thirsts for blood. And indeed, the armor skill called Bloodright allows you to steal health from the enemy just like Malzeno itself. Reminds me of how in some vampire stories, if you're bitten by a vampire, you become a vampire. The brace's description says, seeking immortality, Malzeno bathes in the blood of prey to heal wounds. And a common theme among vampire stories is of course the price of immortality, outliving and stealing life from the mortals surrounding them. Now, before we move on to that last monster, I can't not mention a particularly chilling quest twist that perfectly encapsulates the horror inspiration that Ohuchi described, the gathering of the Qurio. You're tasked with hunting a Lunagaron, but you have a feeling that something's not right. What this really is an ominous scene preceding the final battle. The music creates an unsettling atmosphere, and you begin to notice that there's no signs of life, large or small, at the Citadel. And then you start to see monsters laying dead on the ground. More monsters than you'd normally see on the map at all lay lifeless and strewn across the landscape as red energy emanates around you and a spooky, creepy soundtrack plays. Even the Lunagaron is surrounded by the Qurio's energy. Just a fantastic execution of that horror inspiration that the creators were going for. And it's the moment that stuck with me the most throughout all of Monster Hunter Rise. Now, about that final boss. Malzeno is slain, but as the great Qui-Gon Jinn would say, there's always a bigger fish. The Qurio ran wild, feasting on monsters left and right, and returned to a bigger, more fearsome host rising from underground after it was driven away for decades by Malzeno stealing the Qurio. This is Garangolm, which we can reasonably assume takes inspiration from the devil. Rising from the underworld certainly gives that impression, as do all the explicit devil references in descriptions. And this relation between the vampire and the devil makes sense with stories of Dracula, who is often interpreted as making a deal with the devil to gain the power of immortality. The name Dracula even comes from both Draco, which means dragon in Latin, and Drac, which means devil in Romanian. Garangolm is one scary beast, massive in size with a very creepy mouth and hundreds of teeth, even a barbed tongue, covered with blood-red crystals and pulsing with a glowing energy. And partway through the fight, he becomes particularly devil-like, adopting a redder color, being surrounded by dark red clouds of energy, and Qurios forming almost flames all along its body, and delivering devastating attacks featuring flame and fireballs, exactly what you'd expect of the devil's reincarnation. There's something about these fiery attacks that's particularly scary to me. I don't know if it's the color palette or the way the animations are done, but it really gives the impression of a world-ending, demonic, explosive power. The monster's back shell is described to be jagged like the teeth of the gatekeeper of hell, and the pierced talon is capable of inflicting untold and never-ending pain, evoking the eternal punishment aspect that tends to be featured in descriptions of hell, in religion, and folklore. The winged talon is described as having no hint of the divine heights it once knew, perhaps referencing the Christian belief in the devil as a fallen angel cast out from the heavens. All armor descriptions reference a demon of destruction arisen from the depths, and weapons are described as 14 terrors from the black abyss, with each having a unique description of some destructive event like a great rising column of fire and a fork of deadly lightning, which is such a cool idea for these item descriptions. I swear you could spend so much time reading all of the interesting flavor text in Monster Hunter games. Side note, these are my favorite dual blades ever because they remind me of Sailor Moon ones. Well, now we've gotten to know all of the new spooky monsters of Sunbreak. I was gonna eat the monster cookies here, but now I'm not, and I'll show you why at the end of the video. Trust me, you're gonna want to see this. Monster Hunter has always been about monsters. I mean, it's in the name. But I think it was a fun twist to see some classic Halloween monsters referenced in the game's creatures. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some spooky movies to watch and a pumpkin to carve. I hope you all have a wonderfully spooky and safe Halloween. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. There's something about these fiery attacks that's particularly scary to me. I don't know if it's the color palette or the way that they're animated. There's something about these fiery attacks that's particularly scary to me. What you doing, Luke? Lucas?
Yes?
Are you making a noise?
No?
What am I hearing?
What are you hearing?
I don't know! Lucas, there's something in here. I'm scared. I'm hearing a noise. I think it's coming from the stove. Is there a creature eating our cookies?
What kind of noise are you hearing?
I saw movement by the pot, and I heard a crackly noise. I'm scared there's an animal. I thought it was you, and I kept stopping. What was it? Can you cover up the cookies? Can you inspect them?
The cookies are untouched as far as I can tell.
Try rattling the pot a little bit against the burner or something. Okay, not like that. Not like too much. I heard...
Actually, there's a cookie back here.
Oh my god. Oh my god. No! Ah! There's a mouse!
Oh no!
There's a mouse! No, stay! It's on the stove, it's on the stove, it's on the stove, it's on the stove. It's under the pot, it's under the pot.
I saw it go back in. Okay.
Ew!
Take a breath.
He stole a cookie! Did he contaminate all of them? It was kind of cute, but that was scary. All he wanted was a cookie.
If you give a mouse a cookie.
We have mice. Side note, these are... He's here. He's here. Did he go? He's still sticking out. Spooky, scary mouse.
Not acting like
Eating my cookie. Why are animals so cute? Okay, wish me luck on the whole mouse thing. Like and subscribe. Bye.